John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on April the 14th, Tax Day Eve. I hope if you haven't got your taxes done, you'll get them done by midnight tomorrow. But at any rate, we've got a lot of great information here for you. Let me go ahead and click on Murtech on Rumble. Take you over here to my Rumble channel. Here's the live stream we're talking about, episode 1887. Let's jump into this channel. All right, pause this. Hi, Debbie BS, and hi, Susie Poll 2016. Thank you for joining. Oh, you're here on time. That's great. I'm glad to see you here on time. Okay, let me click the Show More button to expand out the description box, and we have information from Dan Bongino, ACLJ Sekulow, American Center for Law and Justice, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout-outs to give from PJ Fergie, just started following my channel. Grumpy Army Veteran, just started following my channel. Well6676, just started following my channel. Mommy Miss, just started following my channel. Salty Roo Frat Vet. Good night, girls. Just started following my channel. D Varrallo just started following my channel. And Old Chuck just started following my channel. Okay, so well, thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1886. Uncloudy and Debbie BS commented on my video 1886, my episode 1886. Sohum CT7071011 commented on my extra 667B. And Iger071767 and Debbie BS commented on my extra 669A, and Debbie BS commented on my extra 669B. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I enjoy reading your feedback, and thank you for reposting my video, and I appreciate your support so very, very much. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There you go. And I've got a thumbs up icon here right below the video that you're watching. If you could slide down and poke it or click it with your mouse, that would be great. Okay, Dan Bongino, They Lied, episode 2494. Let's see what that's all about.
Donald Trump, I mentioned the other day, is there are a large swath of people out there completely unaccustomed to his authenticity. He just says what's on his mind. And the reason that's a shock is, as I've said often during my show, and I need you to process this, it's very important. The most interesting, sometimes damaging, but sometimes not, political narratives out there are narratives that change your pre-existing notion of who a person is or who a class of people are. Okay? So if the Republican Party were to come out tomorrow for, mass abortion and gun confiscation, you would be stunned because it would change your that's a dramatic example, but it would change your pre-existing notion of what the Republican Party stood for, correct? Those are really damaging political narratives. Politicians in general have a reputation for BS. I mean, movies have been made about it. Eddie Murphy made that movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, about running for Congress under some dead guy's name, and nobody even cares. Like, there's this reputation for politicians just lying and BSing everyone. That's what's so shocking about how in the era of AI and easy information, where you can go get it, that the holier-than-thou Democrats, now you had Swalwell resign, Tony Gonzalez on the other side resigned last night from Congress. This is going to get harder in the AI era because damaging political narratives that change your pre-existing notion of who these people are going to just flow out every single day. It is really important we see this. What's happening now is as Donald Trump makes decisions and these decisions work out, you're seeing a number of people switch to a different narrative because they don't want you to believe that Donald Trump takes information from his advisors, synthesizes it into an output, and makes good political decisions because they want you to believe he's some dumb cretin real estate guy from New York who's just lucky. So the new narrative is it's all just luck. But I want you to listen to just a couple of clips here before I move on to what happened to Savannah Hernandez, which if you didn't see this video is really troubling. But I want you to listen to this. Victor Davis Hanson is one of the most brilliant, intellectually sound talking head commentators. I don't mean that in a negative way, in the business. He is a sincere intellectual. He throws compliments around like manhole covers. He does not waste his time. This is a 30-second clip, no more. But him talking about how I don't understand how you don't see how there's a plan here and what he's doing. Like this whole luck narrative that Donald Trump just keeps getting lucky is the coin that flips 85% of the time. You're not right. It's not luck at this point. There's something going on. Check this out.
Almost everything that he's doing that seems herky-jerky has an ultimate strategic purpose, is to diminish the power of the Chinese and to turn Russia and China against each other, and to have a cultural revolution, counter-revolution in the United States that makes our adversaries think that we are serious and dangerous, whether it's closing the border or having immigration reform or pressuring Mexico about fentanyl or recalibrating the Pentagon, you name it, and economically more powerful. Instead, they just say, well, he tweeted this or his tariffs. But actually, there is a plan, and it's working.
Yes, it sure is.
And I'm going to go into some more detail because I do have a lot to cover today, especially this explosive new revelation where you're now seeing what happened with impeachment hoax too. Nothing's happening. Sure. There is a plan. I'm going to go into tomorrow in a little bit of detail. An excellent tweet out there that shows on a map, very simply, all you have to do is see it one time with the red arrows, and you'll see what exactly the plan is, whether it relates to the Panama Canal, the Malacca Straits, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea. You'll see the plan. It's clear as day. It's not luck. Here is Brit Hume for the data point people out there. Brit Hume again, not some big MAGA hat wearing guy, just kind of a down the middle commentator, been at Fox forever, journalist. He's not a cheerleader for anyone. Here's Brit Hume in another short clip last night saying he basically cannot believe that there's still the data point people and others out there clinging to this notion that we attacked Iran for no reason, that they did not want nuclear weapons. He's like, how are you still clinging to this? The vice president went over there and said, we really have one big request. Just give up your nuclear material that could be used to create a weapon. And the Iranians flipped us the double barrel middle finger and said no. Or did you miss that? Does that data point matter? Andy, does it matter? That's like a big data point, is it not? They don't want a nuclear weapon. Then just give it up. And you could stay alive. They'd rather die. Don't listen to me. Listen to Brit Hume again. He's not a big MAGA cheerleader. Check this out.
Here Iran is badly battered, militarily crushed. They really don't have any cards here, other than the Strait of Hormuz, which we're acting on now. And they come into this negotiation absolutely refusing to give up their nuclear weapon ambitions, which was the bottom line for the president and his negotiators. If that doesn't emphasize that President Trump was correct in assessing in the beginning of this, that Iran was still going for a nuclear weapon and it was something the world could not afford, then I don't know what could.
How, in the name of all that's holy, are you still sticking to this story, the data point people, that the Iranians don't want a nuclear weapon? How are you doing that? Well, I don't understand. Do you not believe in evidence? You can look this up. You can do the same homework I do. You can look this stuff up. That is going to be a theme of today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, with the power of the interwebs, AI, Google Gemini, Grok, ChatGPT, and all of it, you can actually look this stuff up, Trump haters. This is not hard. I'm glad to do a lot of homework for you. It's my job. I love my job. I've always loved my job. Love my last job. Love the job before that. I love my job. But this is not hard, folks. The Iranians don't want a nuclear weapon. We attacked them for no reason. Well, the vice president went over there and just asked really a simple thing. Can you give up your nuclear material? They were like, nah, kill us instead. That sounds like a data point to me.
It's a data point.
It's a data point, right? With actual data. This is not hidden knowledge, folks. I don't play the hidden knowledge. I know something, but I can't tell you. No, I'll tell you. Brit Hume is 100% correct. It is now public knowledge that they refuse to give up their nuclear material and would rather die, which sounds like to me they want nuclear material. Here is, by the way, the best explanation I've heard. And then I got to move on. I got to show you this Savannah Hernandez video. You may have seen it, getting attacked. She's a wonderful young woman. We had her on our show, I believe, on election night. And she's just a great field reporter. I've said her name multiple times. Does a lot of good, solid journalism for Turning Point. She was attacked. I'm going to tell you, outside of the tragedy of the situation, why this matters and why you need to be careful. But I want you to listen to this. I can't let you go without this. I listened to this yesterday. It's about a minute. This is one of the best explanations on Fox as to why the Iranians pulling this last card out of the deck. We're going to mine the Strait. We're going to blow everyone up. Why even this game is probably not going to work out. How our technology to clear these mines is just better than it. It's about a minute, but this is one of those, you got to hear this kind of moments. Check this out.
Right now, there are reports, but it's all kind of what we say, rumors, indications, and warnings that there might be about a dozen or so moored mines, right? There's many different types of mines out there. Moored mines are ones that are suspended by a cable that's resting on an anchor on the seabed floor that's floating at or usually just below the waterline. They can be contact mines, which is where basically the ship runs into one of the horns, like the traditional horns you see on what you think of a mine would look like. But they also could be influence mines, and that is when a ship cruises right above it and it has a metal detector, a magnetometer that detects something metal that's very close to it, and then it detonates. So, and also on top of that, influence mines can be very sophisticated, where they can put a ship counter on that, where basically it'll wait until 5, 6, 7, a dozen or more ships go past it before it would detonate, which is why sweeping is something that is good and is helpful, but what's best is hunting. We always say, hunt if you can, sweep if you must.
That's just a fantastic explanation using diagrams on Fox. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, check it out on Rumble as to how this works and why the Iranians, this is it. They really they have no chit left to play. They just don't. And they will not give this stuff up because their only goal is a nuclear weapon, because their only other goal is death to America. This is not a hard argument to make, folks. They're not hiding it. There are people on the other side who just hate Donald Trump, want you to believe it's all luck, who are lying to you about it. By the way, can I ask a favor of the audience? First, thank you to everyone who serves in our military, man. You got some pair on you, man. I can't say that with enough, just respect for what you guys and ladies out there do. I mean, imagine being a minesweeper. They're minesweeper. Like, hey, you could hit one of those. That's part of the business. Listen, I never went to work, even in the last job, even though I had a lot of threats and stuff. But I never went to work every day thinking like I'm going to die. These guys go to work every day thinking, oh my gosh, like I get exploded by a mine. But I need a favor from you. I've been doing a ton of homework on World War II, and my grandfather, who I adore, God rest his soul, served there honorably. And I finally got a hold of some of his paperwork. Does anyone out there know anything about the 3938th Quartermaster Company that served? They came on board in Normandy, served in the Rhineland and Central Europe. Because as I told you, my grandfather Frank, last name, obviously, who I loved, and God rest his soul, he never talked about it. And I was chatting with my dad last night. Never. You weren't allowed to ask him at all. He used to wake up at night with nightmares, and no one ever said anything. I know nothing about it. He wouldn't talk about it. I asked him 100 times. He was very, I think, traumatized by it. And I think it's because they were delivering fuel to the front lines on no sleep at night with the Germans targeting them. They couldn't put the lights on or anything like that. So if anyone knows anything about that, I would love to hear from you. Just throwing that out there. Crowdsourcing. I love you guys. And thank you again to everyone who serves in our military. You are the best of the best. And that point is not in dispute at all. And I would hope even the Democrats in the chat agree with that. We sit here in freedom and luxury because of your sacrifice. Folks, I've been warning you about the left for a long time. I'm going to show you this Savannah Hernandez video. She is a investigative reporter for Turning Point USA. She's been doing this for a long time. She's done some excellent reporting on the border. Savannah was out there reporting on one of these anti-ICE protests. And she was pretty brutally attacked by the way, some savage animal who was like 3-4 times her body weight. Just unbelievable savagery and just pure evil. This, although political violence is not exclusive to the left, it dominates on the left. And there is a reason it dominates on the left. The left is living in a world of lies. I can't say this enough. And I don't mean this as a flowery kind of Robert Frost poem. I mean it because it's true. When you live in a world of lies, it's really tough to have to get up in the morning and know that everything you believe in is bullshit. There are smart Democrats out there who know, for example, like the Russia collusion hoax and the impeachment hoax aren't real. But because they've bedrocked their entire personality on telling people and arguing this with their friends, they can't ever go back and say, I'm a liar, I've screwed this up. They can't do that. So they get angry and they lash out. It's this like extinction burst of behavior. You're going to see more of this. And I'm just telling you out there, if you're not out there with security, be really careful because these people are unbelievably violent. And as we've seen with Charlie, with Steve Scalise and elsewhere, they will lash out and not a single soul on the left, any prominent figure is going to call this stuff out. Check this video out.
Stop touching me! You fucking touched me! Leave me the fuck alone, dude! Jesus Christ!
Folks, I'm not kidding. Listen to Brother Dan here for a minute. I'm not messing with you. These people are really violent. I've been in this business a long, long time. Been doing political commentary for over 15 years. The show is over 10 years old. These people are really violent. They are violent because their entire life is a lie. It's hard for them to accept it. So they have to it's like, we'll call it like the beach ball theory of political ideology. When your entire life is bedrock, now it takes a lot of energy. Eventually, you just don't have the energy anymore to suppress it, so it has to go somewhere. So it explodes into violence on the left. That's why you don't see this. You do see isolated incidents of political violence of people who claim to be on the right. We don't claim them. We don't want you. We absolutely, resolutely disavow any political violence whatsoever. Absolute full stop. Underline it. Put it in all caps. You notice, yes, there'll be political figures because of political consequences who may have to call this stuff out. But you notice, prominent left-wing activists, there's not some big organized effort by Antifa or BLM to say, hey, man, that's a bridge too far. But Savannah Hernandez is probably 100 pounds soaking wet, if that. She gets bowled over by a bunch of animals at this site. And notice there's no coordinated outcry on the left. Folks, they need this street violence. They need a ventilation point. They need the street thugs to keep their people in line. It's the only thing they have when your entire life is a lie. They don't have any abiding principles. I'm going to prove it to you. Here's a Kalshi market poll here. They tell you they hate billionaires, correct? Tell me you haven't heard this. If you're a lefty listening, please stop BSing people. Tell me you haven't heard about how evil and awful billionaires are. We should confiscate their money. They're so terrible. The billionaires, Bernie Sanders ranted and raving, even though he's a millionaire himself. Well, now that Swalwell has resigned from Congress and has exited the California governor's race, look who Kalshi is, the prediction market says has the best chance. Yes, a billionaire, Tom Steyer on the left. I have nothing against billionaires. I don't like or dislike Tom Steyer. I don't he's a lefty. I dislike his ideology. But do you understand how these people, we really can't stand these successful billionaires. We should confiscate their wealth. They're a parasitic leech on society, but we should elect them to the biggest state in the union and the most prominent Democrat powerhouse state in the union. How do you reconcile this? The answer is you don't. You just get angry, you push the beach ball underwater, and then you just beat the shit out of people at rallies when the beach ball pops up to get rid of your energy. This is why you're never going to call this stuff out. They need the street thugs. By the way, here's a video that's been going viral again. It's an older one of Tom Steyer. I'm sorry, but I needed a little bit of a release valve myself. This is kind of hilarious. This is cringe AF, if you know what that means. I don't know what he's doing. And as Andy and Justin pointed out, is that his wife there on his right? Like, what is going on there? She is having a grand old time. Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there. I think Trump dances better. But at any rate, that example of the left, I thought they were the group of love and understanding and inclusion and all that. Yeah, they say a lot, but they don't mean what they say. Isn't that right? You can't trust a person on the left because it's just one big lie. Their whole lives are just lies. Everything they tell you is the complete opposite. Just look at it. Everything they say, including politicians too, everything they say, you look the opposite, and that would be the truth. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dan Bongino Show. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me, and I will be including this video in my daily news wrap-up, so you'll get to see the rest of it if you want to. I'm like 15 minutes into this hour and 23-minute video. All right. Let's jump back here. Okay, I was doing some chatting with Debbie BS and Susie Pohl 2016 and Jeanette J66. So thank you very much for your chats. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, ACLJ, American Center for Law and Justice, Sekulow, bombshell, Iran has no way out. Okay, well, let's check it out and see what they're talking about here.
President Trump did something that I don't think was on a lot of people's radar. He has imposed a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. This is, as you remember, Iran saying they had closed the Strait of Hormuz. It was supposed to be reopened as a part of this ceasefire. But what did we see? Iran picking and choosing who was allowed to go through. Not a true reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And who were they letting through? The ships that were going to make them money. The ones that were going to help prop up the regime. The economic lifeline of Iran, they wanted to keep flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the world economy was still feeling the strain of their so-called blockade. So the president was fighting naval blockade with naval blockade and implemented today at 10 a.m. Eastern time this morning, a naval blockade of our own using our great Navy on both sides of the Strait of Hormuz, sending destroyers deeper into the Persian Gulf than they had been before to stop the Iranian economic lifeline, saying that any vessel entering or departing the blockaded area without authorization is subject to interception, diversion, and capture. So we are using the strength of the U.S. Navy, the finest Navy in the world, to put pressure back on Iran. This is now an economic phase of this conflict with Iran. But I also want to read from you. This is something President Trump posted on Truth Social just about an hour before the broadcast. Iran's Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea, completely obliterated, 158 ships. What we have not hit is their small number of what they call fast attack ships because we did not consider them much of a threat. Warning. If any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated using the same system of kill that we use against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It's quick and brutal. P.S. 98.2% of drugs coming into the U.S. by ocean or sea have stopped. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And what he's referring to there is these fast boats that are able to quickly get to places. They use them to board vessels. It's really not the type of naval ship that you're thinking, but they also are able to use them to place mines, things of that nature. They're a very disruptive force in the Persian Gulf. When you think about the Navy that he's talking about, that is talking about the more traditional destroyers, battleships, things of that nature that were targeted earlier on in Operation Epic Fury. What we see now is this move by President Trump after the failed talks in Pakistan over the weekend, where he is really putting the economic pressure on the regime. If they aren't able to make money to replenish their stocks, replenish their military, that's a big strain on their ability to continue. Now it becomes this point of pressure for both the world economy because of the way that Iran is blocking the Strait of Hormuz and has been even after agreeing to open it. Remember, it is supposed to be free-flowing traffic at this point with this ceasefire. It was a part of the negotiation of the ceasefire to continue these talks. And they haven't really lived up to their end of their deal. Surprise, surprise. It's the Iranians. Do you really expect them to live up to their end of the deal? But now, after giving them the opportunity to show good faith, to open up the Strait, to not be firing on their Gulf neighbors, which they've continued to do, the U.S. has shown restraint. We haven't been running our air campaigns. We haven't been launching attacks on the regime since that ceasefire last Tuesday. But remember, only a 2-week ceasefire. And now the president's in place and our Navy in place to try and push back on the control they've put over the Strait of Hormuz. This is the more naval chess game, the game of risk, if you will, where they're putting assets in place to try and allow traffic that they authorize to go through while not allowing the Iranian vessels that will provide economic benefit to the Iranians through. Now, what does it also do? It also puts pressure on China, a big customer of Iranian oil. If that oil isn't able to go through, China has to go to other markets. They have to make other deals. That also does put on the global supply. If there is less supply, but the demand is coming from places it isn't normally, like China, that could push prices up even further. So it's really who can outlast at this point. And we also know that there's just over a week left in this ceasefire. We'll see what happens, how it plays out from there. Will we go back to a bombing campaign? Will we go back to a strategic strike campaign? I also know that they are, with underwater drones as well as with the ships there, they are going through to make sure that the big threat that many people were concerned about was that the Iranians had placed mines in the Strait of Hormuz, and that with them being the only ones that know where they are, they could lead people through and get people around that without causing too much destruction. Whereas if you were just trying to traverse the strait and were going along, that could be potentially mines which can wreak havoc on not only the ships themselves, but the confidence of the markets, when okay, it's not just that they may stop you, but the cargo itself could be destroyed. The insurance rates, they're going to be making that risk assessment when it thinks, there could be minefields here. So they are looking for mines. I have not, to this day, heard any credible reports that mines have been found in the Strait of Hormuz, even since the beginning of it. That's been the threat since the beginning. Even with those fast boats and things of that nature, they still have the technical capacity to get mines in the area, maybe not as quickly as if they had a full naval apparatus still, which most of that is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf at this point. But yeah, I think that is still a risk that they have to take seriously when we know that they have that capacity and they are right there. So, Martin, thank you for calling in. I think it is an interesting point, because that was, part of the big threat was that they were going to be able to attack the infrastructure and the oil business, the economy of Iran. It didn't necessarily have to be through bombs. As you see here, the naval blockade is giving Iran a little bit of a taste of their own medicine of grinding their economy to a screeching halt.
No, I hope this blockade works, but I just kind of wonder how it's going to go, because really, we should open the strait, escort the ships through. But like, what happens with China? China gets a third of their oil from Iran.
Right.
Are we going to block Chinese ships from going and getting oil from them?
There is risk to this. This isn't just why didn't we do this earlier? Yes, it does start to force China. I think the strategy is get China to tell Iran to knock it off or come to the table. That's the hope. But once again, also, this could spark a bigger resumption to hostilities.
So I don't know. All right. Okay. Let me jump back here. Stop. Cancel. Okay.
On this Calvary Chapel.
All right, let me pause this. I jumped forward. I'm sorry. Let me get back here. Restart this.
Trump did.
Okay, let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I'm sharing this information. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Doug in Exile has to say. And Trump controls Hamas Strait to win. The IRGC continues to lose. All right, well, let's check it out and see what they have to say here.
Are you sober and sane-minded? Well, then welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I'm here to keep you from flipping out. The rest of the media wants you to flip out. They want you depressed. They want you scared. They want you doubting your own patriotism and reality itself. I just bring you facts. Again, if you have a problem with the facts, let me know in the chat. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Let's get to some facts right here. Here's many don't seem to understand what the blockade is. Trump has a blockade right now in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump is not blocking the entire strait. The only ships being blocked are ships attempting to leave or enter Iranian ports, namely oil exports. All other commercial ships will be free to pass. Trump is squeezing Iran and simultaneously forcing the world to buy oil from us, while also securing the strait for safe passage for other commercial vessels traveling to and from other nations in the Arabian Gulf, like United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, etc. This is all around an excellent move, which is exactly why the usual suspects are so upset about it. This is Central Command, U.S. Sent Command, blocking the ships under the ports. Trump's just observing old maritime rules that you can't close the Strait of Hormuz. He's only using it to constrain Iran with their oil to try and get them to negotiate and give up their nuclear weapons. Here's Trump's actual statement from yesterday. Trump orders the U.S. Navy to blockade the Strait of Hormuz to, quote, any and all ships trying to enter or leave, unquote, also instructing the U.S. Navy to seek and interdict every vessel in international waters that has to Iran. Quote, no one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. Trump's reversing their tolls. That is, they're taking mafia-like hit money, and Trump's reversing it, saying, if you paid them, you do not have safe passage. So whatever you think you were buying, you don't get. Now, all of that is a fiscal reason to go against them. I'm giving you a moral reason to go against Iran. This is from Khomeini, back when he was alive. Intercourse with a woman is not allowed unless she attains the age of at least 9 years old. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is upset about us killing. Regardless whether the marriage is permanent or temporary. There is, however, no objection in other enjoyments, like touching lasciviously, hugging, and rubbing the thighs, even with a suckling infant. This is what when Trump and Hegseth describe them as animals, it's not an exaggeration. They act like animals. More from yesterday, Mark Tobin on the blockade. He says it starts this morning at 10 a.m., so it is now in effect. These are the details.
Now, the blockade will involve stopping any ships that come out of Iranian ports or Iranian coastal areas. U.S. ships will not be stopping vessels traveling from non-Iranian ports. The early stages of demining the Strait has begun, and information about a safe path through the Strait will be communicated to commercial mariners. Now, Iran's Revolutionary Guard put out a defiant statement that the Strait of Hormuz is now under their control. Any warship approaching the Strait will be seen as a breach of the ceasefire and will be dealt with strongly. President Trump told Maria Bartiromo details of the naval blockade.
We're putting on a complete blockade. We're not going to let Iran make money on selling oil to people that they like and not people that they don't like, or whatever it is. It's going to be all or none.
Now, we know this is all about China. Thank God Trump is also triangulating against China. China is one of the ones that may have paid money to get their ship through Iran's blockade. And then Trump just negated all that. He's keeping his eye on it. He is not going to allow them to control Hormuz. We're going to control it. And it's going to be very good for people and for maritime freedom. Now, back to what we're fighting. These are Christians in Iran lined up. These are some of the protesters that they had women, children in hijabs right before they executed them. That's what we're up against. You can't make this up. In January, the Iranian regime killed 40,000 protesters in the streets, including children as young as 8. Just 90 days later, countries like the UK, France, and Spain supported Iran's appointment to a leadership role on a UN human rights body. They tried getting Iran into the UN for human rights after they performed this. The good patriots there want nothing to do with this. They're psycho. More facts on the Strait of Hormuz. I said it before and I'll say it again. Iran's move to weaponize the Strait of Hormuz ranks among its most strategically reckless decisions. They cannot sustain control over it. Their military position does not allow for prolonged enforcement against determined opposition. More importantly, it was never a credible bargaining chip. Once escalated, it has to be relinquished without meaningful concessions. The only asset that ever carried real negotiating weight is the nuclear program for Iran. The logic behind the move is also flawed. The expectation was to trigger a global economic shock large enough to force a halt in U.S. operations. That's why I believe Trump's going to start them back up again after the ceasefire. That outcome has not materialized. Instead, it has accelerated the opposite dynamic. Regional and global actors are now investing in routes and infrastructure designed to bypass the Strait altogether. So Iran is going to lose long-term control of the Strait, even if we gave it back to them. In trying to turn Hormuz into leverage, Iran is diminishing its long-term strategic value. Very stupid of the IRGC. It's one of the many, many mistakes they've made. Now, a bunch of liberal students were brought in. They were, iffy on Palestine or Palestinians or whatever. And then they showed them actual footage of children in Palestine saying death to Israel, death to whatever. They showed them the footage, and all these 20 woke kids, after seeing this Palestinian propaganda, they said, I feel like a moron, I've been lied to, because they were never showed these lies of these kids. What do they teach their children? They teach us to shoot the Jews because they are our enemies. I want to fight against them, the Jews. They teach us the Jews are terrorists. They teach us they are bad people. We have to constantly stab them. I'm going to run them over. Yeah, they do that in America here too. We stab them with knives. Right now, I'm prepared to be a suicide bomber.
It's like information I haven't really been exposed to.
Yeah, you haven't been exposed to it because mainstream media is stupid. These videos go on and on that they tell the kids, prep them to be martyrs, to murder the Jews. They have this famous little Mickey Mouse character, this little kid's story. This is one of their shows. It's like a romper room. They sing songs, oh, explosive device of glory, with her blood she created freedom. They're admiring suicide bombing. Why do you want to be an engineer? I want to be an engineer to blow up the Jews, he says. And look at these woke people, man. They're going like, holy cow. No one showed us this. The IRGC, first of all, the Persian people in Iran, the normal people, the 70%, some say it's as much as 90%. They're wonderful, Western, normal people, just like Americans, just like Israel. The other 10% are these psychotic, brainwashed death cult animals. And they're the ones that want a nuclear bomb. That's why Trump says the IRGC cannot have a nuclear weapon. Are you crazy? Wait, there's more. On this last tab, just on the strategy of Hormuz, an urgent phone call from the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, changed Trump's decision at the last minute. Trump was going to back out at the ceasefire and go, okay, fine, our operations are done. Saudi Prince called him. President Trump had intended to declare a complete ceasefire and end the fighting against Iran in exchange for the immediate opening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, a tense call with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman dramatically changed his plan. According to the White House, bin Salman begged Trump not to stop the war. This is a historic opportunity. We must finish the job and weaken the Iranian regime once and for all. The exchange for continuing the fighting, Saudi Arabia offered an unexpected package of economic strategic incentives to Trump. Key points: $100 billion transferred directly to finance American war costs, full and immediate normalization with Israel and Saudi Arabia after the fall of the regime. Direct oil pipeline from Saudi Arabia to the port of Ashdod, turning Israel into a major enemy hub. Investment of approximately $1 trillion into the U.S. economy, purchase of $500 billion in American weapons, establishment of a new regional defense alliance, Saudi Arabia and other moderate countries under an American umbrella, joint naval force to control the Strait of Hormuz, funding of strategic U.S. bases in Israel, joint reconstruction fund for a post-regime, secular and moderate Iran. Trump is a world-altering ninja. Let me know.
Okay. Great information. And, there's been a lot of talk about this, blockade, but he's only blocking Iran. And I believe that the U.S. is actually helping other countries get through the strait. Now, I know, of course, I'm retired. I do have my 401k and my pension, and it's invested in the stock market, and it affects me. I know that when this thing started, about a month ago, excuse me, my retirement took a 10% dive, but looking at it today, it's come back, so that's good. And I think the more we get into this, the more that gas prices are going to come down. The gas prices have come down a little bit here in Indiana, but the gas prices will come down. And folks, I know this makes things look bad as far as midterms coming up, but there's not a long time between now and the midterms. We're talking, this is the 4th month and it's the 11th month, so we're talking 7 months, 6.5 months until the midterms. But there's a lot that can happen between now and then. They keep doing these October surprises. Okay, and sometimes that actually sways an election. An October surprise, 2 weeks before the election, or 3 weeks, or 1 week before the election. Sometimes that actually sways an election. So here again, there's a lot of things that can go on between now and then, and I'm hopeful that they'll go the right way. All right, this video does come from Doug in Exile. I am subscribed to his channel on YouTube. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, jumping back here. Let's see what Wendy Bell has to say in the first domino falls. Okay, let's check this out. Nope. Looks like old Eric, Mr. Swallowwell, as I've heard people call him. Okay, let's see what it's...
Graduate school in Missouri. First job in New York.
Let me get this up here. She's going to do her Pledge of Allegiance.
The truth. the Wendy Bell Radio. Good and my mom, the swiftness of the entire. Thank you so much and welcome home. Visible with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You know, oftentimes in the minutes before we go on the air here, I have a pretty good grip on what I think my monologue is going to be. It's happened at home. I'm seeing something out in the community, and we can all chew on it here in live real time. I don't have that today, but I want to encourage you to not necessarily listen to what people say, but to pay attention to what they do. So what do we have going on? And everybody's talking about it. It's the Eric Swalwell situation. And literally I have an hour and a half of various tidbits that we should chew on regarding the embattled congressman from California, who, by the way, I mean, his least offense right now is alleged mortgage fraud. I mean, chew on that for a minute. Can you imagine what would happen to you if somebody came forward and alleged that you had multiple homes, except neither was your primary residence and you were trying to get away with the fast one, of course? We're going to talk about all that. But all these people distancing themselves from this guy and all kind of pretending that it's a total surprise. A lot of them are like, I'm so surprised. What? He lived a double life? And then others were like, well, it's just a matter of time. I mean, like, everybody knew what was going on. It's been 15 years, for God's sakes. So you're kind of with this weird flash. How can you simultaneously not be aware of something, Nancy Pelosi, and then on the other hand, Ruben Gallego, say, oh, it's just a weird double life. I mean, golly, so wild. Yeah. Meantime, I wanted to tell you what your embattled president is doing. As everybody and his brother in the deep state is doing whatever they can to neutralize his forward momentum. I won't just go around the moon. This president is putting the gun proverbially to Iran's head, and he just, hello, this is the White House. Hello, I'd like to talk to the president. Iran has just given a little wrinkle-dingle to the Oval Office and wants to chat with President Trump. Well, here's the deal, Iran. It's a 6-point plan, the first of which is the most important of which, no nuclear ever. Okay? And if you don't want to talk about that, don't waste my time. I'm too busy taking all of your oil and selling it to the world, bringing down the cost of the barrel of oil down to $93 and dropping as we see 171 oil tankers empty, waiting to get to the United States. This is so interesting. Iran's final card was to say, we're going to go willy-nilly. You guys want to start meddling with the Strait? Well, you don't know where the mines are. You don't know what's going to blow up. You don't know how you're going to be harmed. And so what did President Trump do? Send in the Navy, cleared up the mines. They got 28 of them out of the way. You know, those fun little surprises that you hit on your boat and it goes, right? Yeah, they went and cleared all those out. No, thanks to the help of the UK. And then 2 giant boats, whatever they were, warships, I don't even know, monstrosities, sailed right through the Strait of Hormuz, sang to all of the other countries, come on, it looks safe. I think we can do it. Iran is toast. They've got nothing. And they're losing something to the effect of $450 million a day that the United States is playing gatekeeper of the Strait and saying any ship that wants to go in that's an Iranian vessel or is getting oil from Iran, sorry, no Pasco, no get gas, right? And then everybody else, or oil, everybody else is coming to the United States. What was it again that President Trump ran on that Joe Biden canceled day number 1 after he put his hand on the Bible, right? Shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Drill, baby, drill. Not only do we have enough oil for all of our needs, we have oil for other countries' needs. We have Venezuela's oil because Maduro FAFO'd, right? We're processing their oil, which is a different kind of viscosity and all this mumbo jumbo. So in the Gulf states, that's what they're doing, churning it through the process. Tanker pulls up, beep, beep, beep. All right, Earl, let's go. Fills it up and off they go. President Trump is making money off of a war with Iran. Iran is losing hundreds of millions of dollars every day. And the world oil supply, which everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's worse than anything, is changing thanks to the president's drill, baby drill, and the Keystone XL pipeline, among other projects. And in addition to that, well, everybody over here is like, Eric Swalwell, who? I don't know who that is. What does he look like? A dirtbag. Well, meantime, did you hear about this huge project going on in Pennsylvania, connecting 2.3 million homes in like Queens and Long Island with lower cost natural gas? What do you think that's going to do, ladies and gentlemen, to everybody's bottom line? You're going to all of a sudden have cheaper gas. You're going to have cheaper ways to heat your house. You're going to see all of these wonderful energy independent projects that lower costs for you and me and raise money for the American everything. That is what this president is doing as the deep state is scared to freaking death. Oh my gosh. There is no stopping this insanity. We called him crazy, and crazy worked. We called him unfaithful and couldn't get it across the finish line. We called him a Russian asset, and we couldn't even stick the landing there. They're a little upset. But President Trump keeps winning. I think the dichotomy is glorious. And if you fly up a little bit, get above the dust of the scuffling war zone, you'll see it too. This president is 24 steps ahead of everybody, bringing down the national debt, working through the courts, this whole idea of these other countries finally paying their fair share to sell their wares here in the American people. We are the top consumers on planet Earth. And then you've got judges from every stripe, every city, most of them sanctuaries, of course, doing everything they can to get in his way while simultaneously bouncing criminal, illegal, alien offenders who hurt us and kill our people. Wow. I wasn't sure I had anything to say this morning, but apparently I do. So look, I want you to pay close attention. Don't pay attention to what people are saying. Pay attention to what they are doing. Trump says Iran called, they want a deal. I don't know how much of a deal they're going to get if they don't agree to numero uno. He's controlling the Strait of Hormuz. He's controlling the world's oil supply. And now they're going around Africa to get to the United States to fill up their tankers. It adds 15 days onto the traditional tanker's journey. And all of these people are like, amen, we're not getting blown up. President Trump, with one war, one order, has reordered the order. And the liberals are odd man out. That is the beautiful takeaway of today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to dig in on some of that stuff. We're going to talk about Eric Swalwell, the dumpster fire, except his is radiating toxic waste, right? Everybody trying to get away from him. A little too close for comfort, right? Well, Nancy Pelosi. Oh boy, masterclass swamp thing. I can't wait for you to hear what she says. Insider trading? Wait, what? Next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
All right, well, let's move this forward, get it past our commercial break here. So let's see what's going on here.
Thing with what? Speak in absolute. And what a reason he's a fact keeper. Insider. Oh, it's.
It's magic, you know.
What? Eric Swalwell? Insider trading? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Hello and welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Nancy Pelosi in true Crypt Keeper form with her pterodactyl hands that she talks with a lot. She's chewing on some or trying to keep her teeth in. God bless her. She's 1,000. You know, she can't retire. She hasn't made enough money on the stock market. So I want to read this to you. So Nancy Pelosi apparently, so she sits down with C-SPAN and they're like, look, we're gonna do this thing with C-SPAN, and we're gonna ask you a couple questions about Eric Swalwell. She denies the Democrats had any advanced knowledge of Eric Swalwell's behavior. What? Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was asked if she or other Democrats had any advanced knowledge, yada. Absolutely not true. Look, when people speak in absolutes, it's a huge sign. So you can pay attention to their behavior after that and be like, really? I never, ever had sex with that woman, except, you know, that Oval Office thing. Or I never, ever talked to my son about his overseas business dealings. You know, except that the 10% for the big guy. Nancy Pelosi, never, ever. What? Eric Swalwell is gross? He goes to bars and is accused of roofing women and taking them home and raping them? I never knew that. No, that's ridiculous. Let's listen to Nancy Pelosi asked about Eric Swalwell's behavior, and then we'll give you the 1-2 punch, which what she says next is even more rich.
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to.
No, that's
or
not
what the
true.
allegations
That is absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not
true. You had
true.
no idea.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls, the leading candidate.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of candidates out there. And California has this quirky law, because it's ranked primaries, right? Where you could end up with 2 Republicans on the ballot.
Well, it is.
How does that?
I agree that it is a quirky law. I do not agree that there'll be 2 Republicans at the top.
Wow. So that's where it's going to be. No, absolutely not. Never, ever. So then you're unfamiliar with Mazie Hirono being like stone cold hammered during some of the Senate hearing. I'm telling you what, I've been here for 1,000 years. This is complete breaking. This is totally breaking news to me, she says. So then they do a video clip. Some constituent of Nancy Pelosi's in California is asking her in the C-SPAN format, what do you think? It's called about the state of politics. What do you feel about this Trust in Congress Act that would basically eliminate insider trading? Listen to the expert twist this around to blame the Trump administration. She'll talk about the executive branch. It must be held to the executive branch as well, because they're making out like bandits. She blames before she conflates twists and weasels out of something. It's very crafty.
Speaker
Speaker
Pelosi, do you support the Trust in Congress Act, the bipartisan bill from Representatives Spanberger and Roy that would ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks or require them to place their assets in a blind trust? And if not, why not?
Well, I support. I think it's a new bill now because Spanberger's
They
not
initially,
here now.
but it's
a
been
new bill. But we on the Democratic side have supported the bill as you described. Plus, it should include the executive branch, and that's one of the discussions that they're having now, because the executive branch is making out like a bandit. But let me just, because you brought this up. In terms of this, I originally was reluctant on it because I didn't think our members were breaking the law. If they were, they would be prosecuted. So, but because families had investments in the rest, it didn't seem to me to be wrong. But if the public felt that way and the Congress wanted, I was all for the bill. But there was not a majority to pass it. And that's why it was not brought up in.
Absolutely horrendous line of work. Like, can you go to Capitol Hill and not turn into a snake? legitimately? Is there room for you to be an honorable, hardworking, honest public servant? Is there space for that individual? And how does somebody like Congressman Tim Burchett, how does he survive knowing what he knows, seeing the incompetence, but also the corruption, the cover-ups, and the blackmail and the bribery apparatus? Here's the scary part about Eric Swalwell. So this is all a very manipulated, calculated thing. Random doesn't happen with the Democrats. It's all manipulated and scripted. I'm not so sure they were expecting him to throw in the towel on Congress. I thought they were going to move him out of the gubernatorial thing, see if they could limp him through, get him back into the House, right? So he says, I resign. What leverage does the Democrat Party have over Eric Swalwell? What precludes him from going to anybody in this Trump administration and saying, I've got secrets to spill. What can you offer me? Because first of all, his wife is going to leave him. He doesn't have a house, right? He alleges he does. He doesn't. He doesn't have a place with his kids. He's not going to get his kids. He's going to lose all of that stuff with the House and with his political aspirations. Who's going to hire Eric Swalwell, credibly accused of rape? Who wants that guy, literal dumpster of toxic waste, on the payroll anywhere near their corporate brand? Eric Swalwell has one card to play, and it's the I'll sing like a canary card. I sure hope that he's not feeling suicidal, and I'm not being silly about that. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. So Swalwell resigns from Congress and will likely be prosecuted for rape. Next.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, but this video will be in my daily news wrap-up, so if you want to watch that, tune back in a little bit later on. In the meantime, let me click on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I am following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here, and before we go any further, let me copy these live chats into a comment so that they will be a permanent part of this video, because when the live stream ends, the live chats just kind of vaporize into hyperspace. There we go. And let me also remind you that these videos that I've shared with you are videos that come directly from the producer. I have the links to the producer's channels right here in the description box, along with the link to the videos that I shared with you. And these videos that I shared with you are videos that I've posted here on Mertech.com, where I have over 40. Right there's Dan Bongino's, there's Doug in Exile. Right up here is American Center for Law and Justice. And down here is Wendy Bell. I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos here at Mertech.com. And the link to Mertech.com is in the description box also. Got a lot of information in there. You ought to check it out. Now, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so. And that's why I've put together my Mertech Daily News Wrap-Up, where it says I have 25 videos in here and 10 or 11 hours worth of great information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Here's Wendy Bell's radio. Here's the Dan Bongino show. I've got information here from Devory Darkins, Dr. Steve Turley, Black Conservative Perspective, Benny Johnson, Anthony Brian Logan. More information from American Center for Law and Justice. Tulsi uncovers massive impeachment intel against Trump. We the People News, X22 report, ton of information here, folks, that I want to share with you, but it's going to take me some time to get this all put together in Rumble Studio, so go ahead and take a break, grab a cup of coffee and a donut, or a sandwich and a soft drink, or a beer, or maybe even a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless. And I want to go ahead and wrap this up with some information, a sponsor from MeWe. See what they have to say. Whoop. Give me 1 second here. All right. Hang on. A little technical difficulty here. See if we can get this to go for you. There we go.
Ever feel like the phone is eavesdropping? That's because big tech treats every user's life like a corporate paycheck.
It's time to stop being the product. Millions are making the move to MeWe, the place where private connections and online communities actually thrive.
On MeWe, privacy is a human right, not a hidden setting. They don't track users, they don't sell personal data, and they truly believe in free speech. No shadow bans, just real conversations.
Join the 21 million people taking their digital lives back. Use code WELCOME2026 at checkout to grab 20% off MeWe Premium.
Okay, thanks again for watching. Meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes and we'll have some great information. God bless.